If you look at the fundamental challenge facing the pharmaceutical industry, I mean, it's one of the most expensive and time-consuming endeavors in human history.
It really is.
Developing a single approved drug historically costs an average of, what, $2.6 billion
Yeah.
and chews up a staggering 10 to 15 years of work?
10 to 15 years, it is a process just built on attrition and an enormous financial risk.
Yeah.
And it creates this enormous bottleneck on innovation, which is why the digital transformation happening right now is so critical. We're not talking about, small gains.
Right.
We're looking at blueprints that promise to fundamentally rewrite that whole equation by roughly a 30% reduction in costs and an astonishing 40% acceleration in development timelines.
A 40% acceleration. That isn't just optimization. That's a revolution.
It's a revolutionary step toward faster, more accessible medicine.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this shift.
Our mission today is to dive into the exact blueprints that make this transformation possible. We are looking at the 7 critical strategies pharmaceutical organizations are implementing right now, from using AI to discover new targets all the way to radically restructuring clinical trials.
Okay.
This is your shortcut to understanding the entire Lab 4.0 vision.
And that Lab 4.0 vision is really the necessary foundation. For too long, pharma R&D was sort of stuck in the digital paper phase, like electronically logging experiments that were still done manually.
Right.
Lab 4.0 moves beyond that. It creates a completely integrated, automated, and intelligent research environment.
So if Lab 4.0 isn't just, adding a computer to the lab bench, what's the core mechanism that actually makes it intelligent?
It's the convergence of 3 really powerful elements. First, advanced robotics for high-throughput automated wet lab work.
Okay.
Second, the concept of digital twins of biological assays. And think of a digital twin not just as a simulation, but as a living, highly accurate virtual model of an experiment, or even a biological process.
So it learns as more data comes in.
It learns and evolves, yes. And third, you have sophisticated AI-enabled decision support that guides researchers, almost instantly.
That makes the process sound instantly iterative. So instead of failing in the lab, you fail quickly and cheaply in the simulation.
That's the idea.
But are we seeing real-world evidence that this actually works at scale?
Absolutely. The results from early adopters are, they're demonstrating the potential payoff. We're talking about up to a 60% reduction in preclinical timelines just by integrating these automated systems.
60%.
And a 30% higher success rate when selecting a candidate compound. That level of de-risking the pipeline before it hits that costly clinical phase is just unprecedented.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because technology alone won't solve systemic organizational problems. You can't just buy the AI and expect a 40% faster timeline.
No, you can't.
So for this vision to work, what organizational machinery needs to be in place?
You've hit on the crucial point. The research points to 4 essential organizational pillars that have to be erected first. The first is establishing collaborative research cultures, moving all cross-functional teams onto shared digital platforms for immediate data annotation and shared experiment design. Siloed research just kills speed.
And the second pillar sounds like it's about speed and integration as well.
It is. The second is implementing agile experimental processes. This means tightly integrating rapid prototyping and in silico modeling. Essentially, you prototype and test the drug virtually dozens of times before the team is even allowed to synthesize a single milligram of it in the lab.
And I'm guessing none of this works unless the data itself is, clean, standardized, and ready for a machine to actually consume.
Precisely. The third pillar is research data ecosystems governed rigorously by the famous FAIR principles.
FAIR. We all hear the acronym: findable, accessible,
interoperable, and reusable. Exactly. But, the interoperable part is the real technical mountain to climb. It means all your internal and external data systems must be able to talk to each other seamlessly. If your data isn't truly fair, the sophisticated AI tools we're about to discuss simply cannot function.
And finally, the governance. You need something to manage all this rapid change.
That's the fourth pillar, innovation governance. This makes sure that the scientific exploration balances strategic alignment. So, solving the right problems with regulatory foresight and, crucially, intellectual property stewardship. And that's getting more complicated with AI involved.
That sets the foundation perfectly. Let's jump into accelerating discovery, because this is where the AI hype meets measurable scientific output. Challenge 1 is AI-driven drug discovery.
Right.
What's the investment required to move from a theoretical application to real target identification?
So this challenge focuses on integrating sophisticated machine learning for target identification and virtual screening. So instead of brute force testing millions of compounds in a lab, the algorithms predict the most promising candidates first.
And this requires a very specialized team, I imagine.
It does, a highly specialized team.
So what does that team look like in terms of scale and budget?
The organizations aiming for these accelerated timelines are committing significant resources. We're looking at needing about 15 to 17 full-time specialists here.
15 to 17.
Yeah, AML experts who are specifically trained in chemistry alongside computational biologists. That requires an upfront 3-year investment of about $14.6 million.
Wow, that's a serious upfront cost just for specialized talent. What's the quantitative return you expect for that kind of commitment?
That investment is really designed to pay off in speed. Quantitatively, the expectation is a 40% reduction in the preclinical timeline.
Okay.
But qualitatively, the benefit is maybe even more exciting. It's access to previously undruggable targets.
Can you elaborate on undruggable? For you listening, why were these targets off limits before?
Well, historically, our traditional chemistry methods struggled immensely with complex targets, particularly things like protein-protein interactions,
Right.
where two large molecules need to be blocked or altered at the same time. Designing a tiny traditional small molecule that can disrupt such a vast surface area has been, well, nearly impossible.
And AI can handle that complexity.
AI excels at analyzing these vast, complex interaction networks. It can design molecular scaffolds that human intuition might completely miss, opening up treatments for complex diseases that have resisted current methods.
That sounds like a fundamental scientific advancement. But the largest single investment area isn't the general AI discovery. It's challenge two, computational biology integration. And that comes in at a whopping $16.7 million over 3 years. Why the higher price tag here?
Because this goes deeper than just screening compounds. It's about understanding the entire disease landscape. Computational biology integrates systems biology and complex multi-omics analysis workflows.
Can you break down multi-omics analysis for us? It sounds incredibly complex.
Think of it this way. A traditional drug design might look at one piece of information, maybe a gene or a protein.
Great, a single data point.
Exactly. Multi-omics looks at all the data layers at the same time. The genome, the transcriptome, the proteome, the metabolome. It's like reading a whole biological novel instead of just a single chapter. This integrated analysis helps identify drug targets network-wide, not just in isolation.
So the goal is not just finding what compound works, but truly understanding why the disease behaves the way it does at a systems level. You're trying to ensure you hit the right target from the start.
Precisely. This investment demands the largest team, 17 to 22 specialized FTEs, because you need systems engineers and biologists to stitch all that data together. But the projected gains are huge. A 45% improvement in target identification success and a very strong ROI projection of 4.0 to 1.
It's about avoiding that catastrophic late-stage failure. Okay, now let's move from the lab into the patient world, because the digital revolution is also radically changing how clinical trials are conducted. Challenge 3 is all about virtual clinical trials.
This is a dramatic shift to a hybrid or even a fully remote model. Instead of requiring the patient to travel repeatedly to a centralized clinic, trials can leverage digital consent, virtual site management, and remote patient monitoring protocols.
And this is so attractive because it addresses the single largest cost and time sink in development, right? Running the trial itself.
It is, and the efficiency gains are just massive. We see a 50% reduction in patient recruitment time because you can access patients no matter where they live.
50%.
And a 30% improvement in patient retention rates. When participating is easier and less disruptive to a patient's life, fewer people drop out.
A 50% reduction in recruitment time alone is monumental. And financially, the payback has to be huge.
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is that this specific challenge offers the highest projected return on investment across all 7 challenges. 4.2 to 1 over 4 years. That ROI reflects how much time saved in phase 2 and 3 translates directly into earlier market access and, cost avoidance.
And closely related to virtual trials is challenge 4. Digital biomarkers implementation. This involves equipping patients with technology, correct?
That's right. This means using wearable devices and sensor networks for continuous objective patient data collection. Think of it as replacing subjective patient journals with 247 high-fidelity data streams on everything from sleep patterns to cardiac function.
Beyond just having continuous data, what specific operational benefits does that objective data stream provide?
It leads to two critical benefits for trial design. First, a 50% reduction in sample size requirements.
Ah.
Because the continuous data provides such a clearer signal, you just need fewer patients to achieve statistical significance. And second, a 60% improvement in patient compliance monitoring. You know exactly if the patient is adhering to the protocol in real time.
Which cleans up the data set enormously.
Enormously. This requires an investment of about $13.3 million over 3 years for the platforms and the devices.
We've covered discovery and clinical development. Now let's tackle the operational and strategic side that enables all this data flow, starting with Challenge 5, collaborative research platforms.
This challenge tackles the headache of siloed information and data sharing, especially when you're collaborating with external partners like academic institutions or other pharma companies. It focuses on developing what are called federated research collaboration protocols.
And what does a federated protocol mean in practical terms?
It means that the data stays where it is, behind the original organization's firewall, but the models and algorithms can travel securely across the network to learn from that data.
So you're sharing insights and analysis tools, not the raw proprietary data itself.
Exactly. This requires highly secure platforms for shared data annotation and analysis. And by solving that security and logistical nightmare of moving massive data sets, well, the organizational payoff is huge.
What kind of payoff are we talking about?
A huge acceleration. We're seeing a 60% reduction in collaboration setup time and a 45% improvement in overall research productivity. If your researchers spend less time dealing with legal agreements and more time analyzing, the pace of innovation just closes. It speeds up significantly. This, too, requires a hefty $13.3 million investment.
Next up is the critical protection side, Challenge 6, IP management and digital R&D. You have all these new computationally derived drugs and AI models. How do you protect them?
It's a complex legal challenge. You're protecting digital and AI innovations that don't fit neatly into traditional chemical patents. What's fascinating here is how technology is being used to protect technology.
How so?
The strategy involves automated patent landscape monitoring and AI-assisted prior art searching. The AI helps the legal team efficiently scout the global patent ecosystem to ensure their innovations are novel and defensible.
So it's about building a robust IP strategy around the mechanism or the AI pipeline itself, not just the final compound?
Yes, exactly. This appears to be the challenge with the lowest total budget, coming in at $10.7 million. But the benefits are preventative and crucial. A 30% reduction in IP litigation risks and 25% faster patent prosecution timelines.
That's invaluable peace of mind. Okay, finally, we look at Challenge 7, regulatory science innovation. You can develop the best drug in the world, but if you can't get it approved efficiently, the whole economic model collapses.
This is all about proactively preparing for faster regulatory pathways by standardizing and leveraging all this new digital data. This means establishing digital-first submission processes, implementing robust real-world evidence, or RWE generation protocols.
RWE, real-world evidence, that's a huge buzzword. So this means the data from the digital biomarkers and virtual trials is actually being used to support regulatory submissions.
Absolutely. Regulatory bodies are increasingly accepting RWE derived from continuous patient monitoring as supporting data. And by standardizing that data, organizations see a key benefit: a 45% reduction in submission prep time and a 35% improvement in overall approval success rates. The evidence is just more comprehensive.
So let's zoom back out. What does this all mean when we put the 7 blueprints together? If you're a pharmaceutical organization aiming to achieve this, what is the scale of commitment required?
The commitment is immense. Across these 7 core challenges, we're talking about building complex teams ranging from 11 to 22 specialized FTEs per challenge. It covers everything from AI ethics to systems biology.
And the total cost?
It's totaling nearly $100 million in combined investment over just 3 years. This isn't just funding a few projects, it's funding a complete infrastructure and cultural rebuild of the R&D operation.
But the expected outcomes justify that cost, bringing us back to the ultimate goal.
They have to. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture for you listening, the total expected program outcomes are dramatic. We're looking at a 40% reduction in overall drug development timelines.
40%.
A 35% decrease in R&D costs per approved drug, a 50% improvement in clinical trial efficiency, and a 60% enhancement in regulatory submission success rates. This shift really defines the future pipeline of breakthrough medicines.
So the key takeaway is that this transformation relies equally on people, The new specialized AI talent process, creating agile integrated workflows and technology, the AI platforms, the cloud, the wearable sensors. It's a three-legged stool that has to be perfectly balanced.
That integration is absolutely vital. The use of computational methods and digital twins allows pharma organizations to explore biological complexity at a scale and speed that well, it was simply science fiction a decade ago. It moves the most expensive stages of failure out of the physical lab and into the virtual world.
Which raises an important question for you to consider as we wrap up this deep dive. If we can model complex disease mechanisms in silico with this level of precision, using digital twins and multi-omics analysis to predict how a drug will work before it's even made, what specific areas of traditional, costly wet lab experimentation will be rendered obsolete first? Where does the chemist stop synthesizing and the algorithm take over entirely?